Hi Ankit.
Hi Vishal, hope you are good.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Uh,
Hope you also doing good.
so let's brief about yourself first.
Yeah, Vishal this side. Basically, my highest education is of Bachelor of Engineering with 6.7 CGPA overall. And till now, I have learned the Go language and implemented basic syntax in the Go language. Challenges wise, I used to participate in code shape, basically do the some competitive programming kind of things. So that is to increase my skills.
Okay. So as you said that you have done the Golang.
Yep.
So how do you know about Golang first? Let me.
Yeah, like a typical college student, when we are in third year or final year, our goal is to create one of the website. So I'm also on the same track trying to create one website. So I came to know like HTML, CSS is highly needed in creating one of the websites. So I learned HTML, CSS. The teacher who was teaching me the HTML CSS, at the end he said that only by HTML CSS I cannot create the website. He gives some insight of Go language from there only. He gives some comparison also, like he give comparison with PHP, and after doing analysis from my side I choose Go language. So that is, I think, third year of my college in 2018.
Okay. You are talking about that there is some advantage between your backend languages, like you have said PHP and other languages. So what are the benefits of using Golang?
There are two advantages. Two advantages, not two advantages, two prospective advantages, I can say. One is as a developer perspective, another is as a company perspective. So for
Yeah.
company, if I say it is something like Golang is going to save the money. If I have to deploy a website and that website is running, let's say 600 requests per second, and somehow I can minimize the memory uses and RAM uses. So in that case, I can save the money because cloud basically charges based on the amount of RAM or memory we are consuming. So in that case, Go is going to be very helpful for them because it is consuming very less memory. So that is the company perspective. Now as a developer, what I can say is like, I have to give the reason also, like why it is consuming less. So I think that was the advantage point of the Go language. Like PHP, if I compare, PHP is not built when there is multiple core processors are there, but when multiple cores came in picture, then we just keep on modifying the PHP compiler so that it can take advantage of multiple cores. Same goes with Java and Python also. So we can see that Go is something which is built in the era where multiple core CPUs are already there, and it is basically built to use this feature very efficiently. For example, I can say is like, uh, in Java it consumes close to 1 MB of memory just to run one thread, whereas Go consume 4 KB just to run a Go routine. So both of them are same, but you can see the size of memory. So that is where Go is having much of the advantage. Other advantage also, like it is very lightweight, very close to human English, and easy to learn also. uh, Lightweight in the sense, not very complex programming language, so it a small language very easily can be learned. Other thing is like, uh, same with, because of a small language there is disadvantage also, advantage also. It's just the way we are seeing it. It is like, let's say if we have lots of website running, we already know there are millions of website maybe running at the moment. So close to 95% of the website is not that complex. So Go can efficiently achieve that, or can be create that website in Go language. But if we follow other languages, they can also create, but at that time they are not going to be as efficient. So that this is also what I can say is like, I try to give both picture of small
Mhm.
language, advantage and disadvantage both.
Okay. Let's come on to the advantages we have already done and disadvantages you have included in your answers. And so I will go with the how you create a project on a Go. So we have a workspace thing like in Go. So how you define and how you do that thing.
So project wise, we basically stick with workspace or place where we do the coding. So in Go language, there are two things: a path variable and root variable. So root variable is where our Go language is installed, basically where our compiler sits. Whereas the path variable is where our workspace, and workspace is where we do our coding, like create our projects. Let's say if we have to create a project for a school, then we do it on the uh, workspace, and that is where our path variable also point the same location, not exactly same, but in the bin folder of the workspace.
Your voice is little bit breaking.
Yeah, same, I also feel the same. Your voice also
Hello.
bit. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, so without a Go root or without a Go path, we can't create a project. Is it right?
No.
Or is there anything we can go ahead?
Yeah, now there is things like, now we have dependency management, like Go mod file, basically that manage the dependency. So now that with the help of mod file, we can create project outside the workspace also.
Okay, fine. So that's the answer which I want.
Okay.
Okay. So what is packages in Golang?
Packages, what I can say, is a smaller unit of a project which we divide in order to make a better readability, and sometimes we achieve security also using the packages. So I can say packages is a kind of library if it is not a main package. If it is a main package, then it is a kind of executable file. So let's say
Okay.
for example, we have model and we have executable file. Model can, all the structure can be defined in single package, and we can import that. So that is a way of organizing our code. So Go is very we following package Go is going to help us our code to organize better.
For the readability,
Yeah.
readability
Yes.
purpose.
Yep.
Okay, fine. So, what is constants and variables in Go? How can you distinguish between those things? What is constant and variable?
Yeah. So what I can say is like, when we say constant, it means if a value is initialized with anything. Let's say if it is an integer constant, and if I set
Hmm.
the value to 1, so after set to 1, now it cannot be changed. It will be 1 always. Let's say if that was variable, for example, in that case, after getting set to 1, again we can change it to 2, 5, 10, whatever we want. So variable means whatever we are assigning can be changed. Whereas if
Hmm.
constant, then once assigned, then never cannot be mutated.
Okay. So, how can we assign the variables in Golang?
Uh,
Like, yeah.
So variables is like, there are multiple ways of creating variables, and there is shorthand operator also in Go language. So we can use keyword var and variable in name and type of the variable, and then with
Okay.
the equal to sign we can assign.
Okay. Fine. So we have different data types in Golang. So could you describe all of them?
Yes, so I'll try to describe as many as possible, because
Hmm.
there are lots of data types in Go language.
Yeah.
So basically, I can classify in four of them. Basically, integer, string, float, and then we can say integer, string, float, and then boolean.
Boolean. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Now,
these are the, I think, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, these are the, I can say, core of the data type. Then integer can be divided in multiple parts based on their size, like int 8, int 64, int 32, and int also. Float
Hmm.
also same goes. So now it's just the matter of size of the flag. We have runes also, we have bytes also in Go language. Yep.
So these were the, I think, the primitive data types.
Yeah, these were
Other than
primitive.
primitive. Yeah.
There are
Yes.
non-primitive data type also. So
Hmm.
basically, this is one another classification factor where we say
Hmm.
primitive and non-primitive. Primitive is basically which are fundamentally available, whereas non-primitive are those data type which are built using these fundamental data types. Or I can say it is a user defined data type, like a structure. In a structure we can
Hmm.
have many fields of any fundamental type of data type, or any nested structure itself, so that can also have non primitive type. But the core concept is uh, uh, non-primitive is collection of fundamental, you can say, data type.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So yeah, you heard about the slice in Golang. Did you heard?
Yes.
What is slice, and could you differentiate between the array and the slice?
Yes, slice I can say is a linear structure which store any particular type. Particular type in the sense, if I say array of integer, then it is going to store only integers. If array of string, it is going to store only strings. And I can say it is a linear structure, and it can what I can say is like it is collection of multiple units of that particular type. The basic difference between slice and array is like when we give the length, let's say if I wanted to store 10 units and I'm sure that it is going to be 10, then we pick the array. Sometimes what happens is like we are not sure how many are going to be there. In that case we can go with slice. So if I summarize it in short, then I can say slice is of dynamic length, whereas array is of fixed length.
Okay.
One example which I'd like to give is like, let's say if we have security purpose where we know the password character should be of 4 digit, then we go with the array, because in that case if I use slice, then fifth character can also be appended. So we choose the 4 elements, so for sure there should be 4 digit pin, so array is better option. But when we choose slice, so let's say if there is admission is going on, and for that we are taking admission forms, so any number of admission forms can be in, so for that we can go with slice. So I think this is real example.
Yeah, fine. So what is interface in Golang?
Interface, I can say it is very important thing in Go language. Basically it takes Go language from a completely non object oriented programming language to close to object oriented programming language, because it provides the feature of method overloading. Another thing is like we can use interface as a variable also. So basically when we use interface as a variable, then we are saying that we can assign it anything, like integer also, string also, float also. And it is not like once we assign integer then I cannot assign a string. Same, if I create a variable a of type integer, interface, then I can assign a to integer and a to string. So I can change the type also. And another thing is like it's sometimes used for method declaration also, or method signature. So basically that is help us in method overloading. Sometimes we use this for mocking also for our unit test cases.
Okay, so you have mentioned about the method overloading. Could you describe that? What is method overloading?
Yeah, basically let's say if we have multiple method with same names, let's say add data is of method which basically add teacher data to database and add a student data to database, for example. So now if I declare this add data method in a interface and expose interface outside the package, then using this interface I can decide which one to be called, add data of teacher or student, based on whatever structure we have assigned to the interface. So if I assign, let's say if a variable, I have created an interface variable of type of any name operations, and that operation I assign a student structure inside that, and then after assigning student structure I am trying to call the add data, then it is going to call the add data of student method. If I do the teacher, then it is going to call the teacher one. So now I can see this is called as method overloading.
Fine. So we will go ahead with the what's the difference between a function and a method?
Yeah. So function is straightforward a collection of statement, I can say, which can be called and it is basically created to increase the code readability and organizing the code. And second thing is like reuse of code also can be there if we create a function. And method is something is like mostly method is created when we wanted to restrict the access of a function. So basically when we attach any function to a structure as a receiving parameter, then in that case what happen is like it converts to method. For example, let's say if there is a function named add user. So
Okay.
add user is able to like we can call add user without any structure criteria. Whereas if I create a method add user that is attached to student, now this add user is only be able to call when student is there, student via student structure. We
Okay.
cannot call it directly. So I can say that the basic difference is like uh, when we attach a structure to a function, it become method.
Okay. Good. So yeah, what's the map in Golang?
Okay, so map is basically I can say a very useful data structure in Go language, which is provided to us. It is key value pair data structure. It have key and value. Key is always going to be unique. Value can be repetitive. And second thing is like we can, whenever we are reading a map, we can pass the key. It returns two things. One is value and another is the boolean flag, which will tell whether the value of that key is there or not. So I can say it is simply I can say it is a key value pair database data structure, uh,
Hmm.
and it the key are going to be always unique and values can be repetitive.
Okay. So have you heard about the importals and non-importals in Golang?
Yeah, imports and non-imports, what I can say is like uh, yeah, so basically when we say importable and non-importable, what I say is like let's say I create a structure and I keep the first letter small, it means
Okay.
it is not going to be imported, like we cannot import that structure now. Or this not goes only with the structure.
Sorry for interrupting. So importing means what you know. What we know about the importing, like uh,
Basically when we say importing, it means we are in package A and we are trying
hmm,
to use something from package B.
okay,
So in that case we say importing is going to be take place, because in the starting of the our any file we have import also. So in that
hmm,
imports we mention all the import libraries. So from import libraries we basically use some functionalities or some structure or something as per our requirement. So
okay,
importing works only when the first letter is caps, and that is I can say one clever implementation of the Go language, where basically what the designer did is like designer in the sense the guys who invented
the
Go language.
developer, yeah,
Yeah. So basically they said that if the first letter is capital, then things can be imported. If not, then it cannot be imported. it it is valid for structure, variable, function, method, everything.
okay. So the first letter should be
Capital
like
for
a
importable,
capital. Then in that case we can import, or
otherwise not.
otherwise we cannot.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So what is Go routine in Golang?
Go routine, I can say, is one of the most important feature of Go language, which is basically
Hmm,
provide us the feature of running two function or more than two function concurrently.
okay.
Yeah,
So what do you mean by concurrently?
concurrently in the sense same time. We can see the output. Actually, not same time. That depends on number of cores. Let's say we if we have two cores and we have two functions
Hmm,
running concurrently, it means in actuality they may run in parallel in the sense one of them is going to execute on core 1 and one of them is going to execute on core 2. And if we draw a time axis any point of time, we can see it is going to cut both of them. Whereas let's say if we have five functions, five
okay.
process running in parallel
Hmm,
concurrently, in
hmm,
that case what will
hmm,
happen is like since there are only two cores, now they are going to switch very fast. For a moment A is going to run process A, then process B, then again process A, process G. They are going to switch very fast. It will look like to us like they are running in parallel, but it is kind of illusion. So we can say they are running in concurrent way.
okay. So what's the difference between concurrently running functions and the parallel running function? So
uh,
parallelism versus concurrency.
what I can say is like parallelism is completely hardware dependent kind of thing. Concurrency is kind of something which achieve parallelism by switching process very fast. Yeah. So Go is something which is built to use parallelism very efficiently, which is also called as concurrency.
Okay. So have you heard about
Yes.
channels in Golang? So could you describe?
Yeah, channels is a mechanism to communicate between Go routines. Like we are dealing, we are our last question is like where two processes are running at the same time. Now what
Hmm.
happen is like when they are running in same time, then how they are going to communicate. So
Yeah.
their channels come in picture. Basically, they provide some mechanism to communicate between the, multiple Go routines, I can say.
Okay. So it's a medium to just communicate between the Go routines.
Yes.
Okay. So have you heard about Verdict function?
Yeah, variadic function is basically a function which can have variable number of input parameters. Like
What does that mean?
let's say if I have a function add, and in
Hmm.
add we have a parameter, and a parameter is as a input, and it is basically adding all the things and returning or printing the output. Basically, if a is of variadic type, it means uh, while calling this add function I can pass any number of integers. It will add all of those and return the output or print the output.
Okay. So there are multiple types of channel as well. Could you describe what are those?
Yes, basically buffered channel, unbuffered channel. There are
Hmm.
two channel types based on the memory size and based on direction also. There is bidirectional, unidirectional. So
Okay.
they are two different. I can say perspective of classification. The buffered unbuffered is basically like when we say a channel is buffered up to level 5 or 6 or any number of integer, it means it can store that many number of values before getting consumed. What I mean to say is like,
Okay.
let's say if we have channel A and we pass a value to channel A, now
Hmm.
unless that value is consumed, it is not going to accept any other value if it is unbuffered. Let's say
Okay.
if it is buffered to two levels, it means it can take two
Takes
values
two values. Yeah.
before start discarding. Yeah.
Okay.
And directional is bidirectional. Unidirectional means we can set that this channel is going to accept the value only from this function, and it means it is unidirectional. And if any channel is specified like it can receive and send from this function, then that channel is bidirectional, prospective to that given function. Here the catch point or note point is like it's the same channel which can be bidirectional and unidirectional. That depends on in the function or method where it is going to be used.
Okay. So what is differ in Golang?
Defer, I can say, is a mechanism which work as a try and catch kind of concept of Java. Basically, it follows stack architecture, and best part of defer is like whenever we put anything, any function, method, or any statement after deferred, then that is going to be executed at the end of the function where it is getting put, and compiler makes sure that that execute even though code crash. So that is how it helps in our recovery also. Like sometimes our code panic and we want to recover it, recover from it. So there also defer is going to be helpful, because compiler makes sure if recovery is mentioned in the deferred, then it should run at the end of the function call.
Okay. So if you define multiple differs in a like in main function, so how that will be executed?
It follows the stack architecture. So last in,
Hmm.
first out. So the defer which is at the end is going to execute it first, and then opposite order is going to be followed.
Okay, fine. So how we can handle the errors in Golang?
Errors, like basically there are multiple types of errors. We have panic error, we have fatal error.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
fatal error is basically a kind of error which we put or which we face. Like as a developer, I create a fatal error only when I know that without some requirement our code if runs then also going to produce nothing. Let's say I run my code for the first time and I am trying to connect with the database, and there is error while connecting the in the database. So there is no need of the code to run further, because if database is not connected, then all the operations are going to already fail. So in that case I'll choose the fatal error, whereas panic error is also kind of error, which we basically choose like let's say there is a API call, and for that particular API call our code breaks. In that case I don't want all the other APIs call also to be break. So in that
Yeah.
case I'll choose panic over fatal, so that I can recover from that and all the others API calls are intact.
Okay, fine. So, what is anonymous function in Golang?
Anonymous function, what I can say, is like a kind of function which don't have any name. That is
Hmm.
why it is also called as anonymous function, and it is used right away when it is declared. Like we have the structure and we have the statement for the anonymous function. We run that right away when we are declaring it. Why we run it right away? Because later on we cannot call it since it don't have any name.
Okay, so why we use actually anonymous function? What's the use purpose of creation of the anonymous function?
Yeah,
We
basically
can.
what happen is
Yeah.
like anonymous function also going to have some statement. Now let's say if that statement I want to run in a go routine, so we cannot
Okay.
put go routine for a statement. A go routine is going to be used for a function. So what we do is like we couple those statement in an anonymous function and just run the anonymous function as a go routine. Now our that statement is running as a parallel process or concurrent process.
Okay. So there are different functions like init function we use, and we have main function where our whole program runs. So what's the difference between both of them?
What I can say is main function is the entry point for our main
Hmm.
execution, what I can say. But
Okay.
init function is a kind of something which is basically used to initialize some prerequisites. Prerequisite is in the sense, let's say in main function I am trying to connect with the database, and in order to
Okay.
connect with database I need some URLs or port number or something. So to get those some URLs and port number for connecting to database, some function already need to provide this value to our main function. What we can do is like we can read that in main function also,
Hmm.
but we can read that in init function also. So init function is something which run before main function for sure, and we basically put only those instruction in init function which are required to run prior or as a prerequisite. uh, if we want to put business logic in init function, that also can be there, but then it basically violates the systematic order of coding. So
Yeah.
init function is kind of something which run before main function, and whatever we are doing in it in init function, that can also be done in the main also. But only thing is then it the structure of the coding and things, other things like formatting correctly is going to be violated. So that is why we have init function, and that run before main function.
Okay. So let's say we have created our project in Golang. Okay. Then how we can run the project?
Okay, so there are multiple ways of running the project. Another is like, sorry, the first way is like we can run go run and then main.go. Main.go is the main file name. The file name can be different also, but the package should be main only. So we can use this command go run main.go. And another thing is like we can run go build. So go build will find out uh, the main package in that particular directory where you are trying to run go build and generate the executable file. That executable file is something going to depend on the operating system where you run. Let's say if it is Mac, then it is going to generate a DMG file. If it is Windows,
Okay.
it is going to generate the exe file. For Ubuntu,
Okay.
it is going to generate the dep file. And
Okay.
last one is the go install keyword, which also do the same as a go build. Only thing is like whatever executable file is generated, it just move that executable file from that particular directory to the workspace, sorry, path variable.
Okay.
So it just migrate that to path variable so that you can access it from anywhere.
Okay. So have you told about me in that in Mac you will create a DMG file once we run the Go build,
Yes.
and for the Windows we have different executable file. So that can be run in only that DMG file will run only in the Mac, or
Yes.
it can be run in different operating system as well.
No, it can only be run in the Mac only. What we can do is like we can generate executable file for other environment also, while let's say we are doing Go build. At that time we can pass
Mhm.
environment also, operating system.
Okay.
Even though we are in Mac, we can generate executable file for Windows also, and
Okay.
then that can run in Windows. But if DMG is generated, then that will run in the Mac only.
Okay. Good. So I think I have done my interview. So it's good talking with you, Vishal. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So let's hope it gone good. Let's hope for a positive feedback from me as well as from our uh, manager. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.